Hello and welcome back to the channel. In architecture, Photoshop can be used for all manners of tasks, and in many times it is the most primarily used image editing tool. In this video, we have handpicked 7 tools within Photoshop that are highly useful for architects to improve their workflow. Before we begin, make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon for notification. So let's get started. Content Aware Fill. Imagine you spend hours to get your final render from 3D software and later you notice a small object in the scene that you do not wish to have. In such a tricky situation, this tool will help you out. Content Aware Fill allows you to remove unwanted objects or elements from an image and can be incredibly useful for architects who want to create clean, polished renderings of their designs. Here's how you can use Content Aware Fill in Photoshop. Select the object or element you want to remove using the selection tool. You can use any of the 3 tools for selection. The selection does not need to be very precise, so you can just select around the object. Once you're happy with the selection, there are 3 ways to open the Fill tool. You can go to Edit and click Fill, or you can right click on the selection and choose Fill. Or you can also use the shortcut which is holding down Shift plus F5. You can now see the Fill menu. Inside the Contents drop-down tab, you will have multiple options. Choose Content Aware from that. The rest of the options can stay as it is. Now click OK. And boom! Photoshop will automatically fill in the selected areas with contents from the surrounding areas, creating a seamless and natural looking result. An additional bonus tip with this is that the tool is not just for removing elements, but it can also add elements. For example, I have with me this rendering where I want to extend the bottom to fit the size I need. All I have to do is make a selection of the area and go to Fill, Content Aware. There, works like magic. Perspective Warp. Most people use the Distort tool or the perspective to transform an object, but these tools have their limitations. You can transform and adjust the edges of an object, but you cannot actually change the perspective angle of it easily. That's where the Perspective Warp tool comes in, and using this you can actually change the perspective view of an object or an image. This tool allows us to use multiple perspective transform tools to change the angle in 3D. Let's try changing the perspective of this room with the Perspective Warp tool. Go to Edit, Perspective Warp and click on the image. You will have to add one more for the other wall and once more for the floor. Now choose the Warp option on top, and now you will be able to drag the corners to change the angle of each one. You can adjust the corners accordingly to change the overall perspective of the room. Seems cool, right? Vanishing Point. Within the architectural workflow, we face many situations where we need to place textures or images in perspective of a main image. The Vanishing Point tool in Photoshop allows you to create perspective grids, and you can easily add images or graphics to them. Let's see how to use this tool with an example of this image, which is the tea house in Japan. Let's try adding a wooden texture to the exterior of this building using the Vanishing Point tool. For this, we will first have to open the wooden texture in a new window. Press Ctrl plus A to select the entire image and copy it with Ctrl plus C. Now, let's go back to the main image and create a new layer over it. The reason we do this is that the Vanishing Point tool affects the layer on which it is being used, so doing it on a new layer keeps the base image intact. So with the new layer selected, go to Filter, Vanishing Point. Select the Create Plane option and select the 4 edges on which you like to add the texture. If the selection shows red, it means that the edges are not selected perfectly according to perspective, so we will have to drag and adjust the edges. Now it shows in blue, also the grid is fully visible. Press Ctrl plus V to paste the wooden texture that we copied earlier and it will show up on the window. Now all you need to do is drag the texture and place it in the grid, and it will look perfect in perspective. Hit OK and the material is in the separate layer. This was a straightforward example, but this tool will be very useful in post-production and image editing and will save a lot of time. Camera Raw Filter. The Camera Raw Filter in Adobe Photoshop is a powerful tool for architects who want to enhance the color, tone and details of your architectural renderings. To access the tool, click on Edit and choose Camera Raw Filter. There are many different things you can do within this menu to enhance your image. I'll try to highlight a few of them. Within the Basic tab, you can adjust the exposure, contrast, shadows, highlights and all the basic edits. The Curve tab can be used to adjust the lights and shadows as well as adjust the RGB value of the image. The Detail tab can be used to sharpen the image as well as reduce noise, resulting in a cleaner and smoother final image. These are the tools I use more often, but you can also check out the other tab for other amazing tools. Color Range. Color Range is a selection tool that allows you to select parts of an image based on its color. This makes it easy to select one specific color and then change its hue, saturation, or brightness. The best part about this tool is that you won't have to mess around with making manual selections with tools like the Quick Selection tool or the Magic Wand tool. Let's see how this is used. In this image, I'm trying to select the red shade of paint from the building and changing it to a different shade. As you can see, I make the selection using the Magic Wand. It is not giving me the exact selections and it will take me some time to get those selections right. Instead, go to Select, Color Range, and using this eyedropper, you can select the shade of color. You can notice that not all the parts of the color are selected because the shade changes with sunlight. We can add other shades of the color to the selection by choosing the plus eyedropper and selecting the other shades. You can adjust the fuzziness just a little bit till you see the selection to be clean. Press OK and you can see the selection in the main image. I'm just going to duplicate the layer of the selection and change the colors of it using the Hue Saturation tool. And here's the final result. Filter Gallery. This tool is especially useful when you're doing illustrations or concept diagrams for your design presentations. While making those presentations, you might want to add cutouts of humans or trees as illustrative diagrams, but you may not have the time to trace or draw them. So that's when this tool will be helpful. Using this tool, you can easily create those illustrations as cutouts and it will save a lot of time for you in the process. You can choose an actual image cutout from the internet of a human or a tree that you want to use. Copy it into Photoshop and go to Filter, Filter Gallery. Under the Artistic tab, you have a lot of different styles. You can choose Cutout. You can adjust the number of levels to increase or decrease the complexity of the cutout. You can also play around with the edge simplicity to change the geometry of the illustration. Hit OK and now you will have your cutout in the form of an illustration to use in your renderings. Within the filter gallery, you can also choose dry brush or paint daubs if you're going with a watercolor presentation for your design. Color balance. One way to make your cutouts look more realistic is to adjust the color of the cutout so that it has the right color balance in the rendering. The cutout might seem warmer or cooler than the actual rendering, which might make it look odd in the final rendering. You can correct that by using the Color Balance tool in Photoshop. To access the Color Balance tool, select the layer that you want to adjust and choose the small circle on the corner and select Color Balance. The Color Balance has options to adjust the shadows, midtones, or highlights of the image. There are no rules for this and you will have to follow your instinct. There are still shadows, highlights, and other things that needs to be done to make it look realistic, but the color balance does half the job of not making the cutout look odd. So those were the 7 highly useful tools for architects within Photoshop. Comment down below if you think any other tool needs to be on this list. We hope you found this video to be helpful, and if it was, please hit that like button and share it to your friends. You can follow me on Instagram where I share some of my architectural illustrations and more such tips for architects. See you on the next one.